Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And boy, do we have a lot to cover this morning. We blocked off another day just to play a little catch up. It's just you and I this morning. Tomorrow we are going to learn, I'm excited about this. This is kind of a yearly tradition. We're going to learn all about India Day coming up on Saturday. Saturday is a busy day for community events. We've got the Rotary Club. And the nice thing is you can do all of them, pretty much, all very close. You can do India Day. You can do the Corning Rotary Summer Feast. What else we got? We got other things. We'll tell you about them later on to prepare you for the weekend. Okay, let's get right to it. We're learning a little bit more about that. As someone put it yesterday, the switcheroo where Trump left one plane for the other in the catering truck. Well, what we're learning, according to reports, is that an unidentified person was seen with a shoulder-fired missile near the annual conference of NATO heads of state, and U.S. intelligence learned Iran had tracked down information about which hotel floor Trump was staying on. That's according to a report from the New York Times. So a shoulder-launched rocket to blow up the presidential jet out of the sky was what the fear was. Other news outlets, including CNN, which the breaking news yesterday is CNN is essentially up for sale. Could be interesting in which direction that goes. But CNN confirmed that the threat of a shoulder-fired missile prompted the secret switch. Now, we're going to talk a lot about the media bias this morning because there's a lot in front of us. But one of the things the media is now trying to present is this idea that Trump left other people on the plane to essentially die, right? And then they name names. One outlet said Trump throws Secret Service under the bus and claims he was put on a plane that was at greater risk. Trump said it's only up to Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by the Secret Service and the military. They wanted me to go in a different flight, a different plane, equal safety. But they wanted me to do it, so I did do it. I do what they say. Well, the reporter said, why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but not too dangerous for the press? See, it wasn't about, just to give you a quick insight into how the media operates, it wasn't about, well, it's not safe for you, but why was it safe for some of your cabinet members or some other people in your entourage? No, it had to be about the press. He said, well, I don't know. I think actually the plane that I flew on was a greater risk. I think it was a greater risk because you would be on the plane. I think that would be more likely what they go for. So the reporter said, were you worried about a shoulder-fired missile? He said, I don't worry about anything, to be honest. Whatever it is, my attitude, whatever. And Daily Beast, again, a far-left outlet, but said, here are all the top goons Trump left to die on the bait plane with the press. Again, press is the important point in their mind. Among those that escaped with Trump were his 35-year-old executive assistant, who they're making a big deal about, Natalie Harp, Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino, and Oval Office Operations Director Walt Nada, according to the Post. And who was it? I guess it says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also moved. Left behind were Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung, Deputy National Security Advisor Michael Needham, Staff Secretary Will Scarf, who was promoted this week to White House Counsel, and the entire White House press pool, according to the Washington Post. So that is, I don't want to say, well, the scandal, okay? That is their big story this morning. That's what they're going with. But when we talk, and trust me, I have a lot about the media bias. I don't want to belabor it too much, but there's a couple articles I know are going to get your blood boiling this morning, and I want to hear your comments on. But let's talk a little bit about Iran, and we are going to talk about Carolyn Leavitt. Very unfortunate. I mean, good for her, don't get me wrong, spending more time with her young family. But what a great press secretary. We're going to talk about her a little bit later on. But since we're on Iran here, let me just give you a couple updates. Iran is reshaping its military and appointing hardliners who vowed to take the offensive against Islamic State's enemies, both abroad and at home. The country's reclusive Supreme Leader, Majabi Khamenei, appointed 6 veteran military and security figures this week to enact a new offensive doctrine. That's according to a general in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The changes move Iran away from its pre-war doctrine focused on defense to one where Tehran will take direct action against the enemy territory, was the exact quote. Now, what the theory on this is that Iran wants to prolong the war to outlast Trump, meaning with the midterms coming up, General Jack Keane told Fox News that Iran may believe President Trump will be reluctant to take military action ahead of the midterm elections. Quote, when they look at the phase here, they see the midterms coming. Isn't that sad? Because that's the same way, and they're not wrong. Look at how the media's handled this. Look at the way politicians have handled this. They're not looking at this as we need to win this thing. They're looking at it as if we win this thing, it's a positive for Trump, and that's a bad thing. So the midterms are more important than winning a war against Iran having a nuclear weapon. But he said, my gut feeling is they're likely going to get more aggressive because they don't believe the president will do much prior to the midterms in terms of military action. But they have miscalculated with him time and time again, and he is totally capable of shutting them down once and for all and crushing him with the ability that he has literally at his fingertips. We have more capability in the region now than we had on February 28th, and it all is ready. So that leverage is there. It's his decision, to be sure. So they're trying to, quote, outlast Trump. Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Naqid told PBS, one way is to prolong this war until we get the next term of the presidency. So they're even saying maybe not just midterms, but keep it going until after President Trump and cause attrition so that if anyone else wants to attack Iran, they will know there is a cost. Well, I'm sure they would like to outlast Trump because Trump, if there were a Democrat to get into the presidency, we'd be back to the failed kind of nuclear deal that Obama had. Now, Trump called out Iran yesterday, saying they're all talk and no action. On Truth Social, he said the USA has control over the Strait of Hormuz. I think we will keep it. Our naval blockade is being called by everyone a wall of steel, and there's nothing Iran can do about it. The U.S. renewed its blockade on Iranian ports last month, with the president opting to hit Tehran with economic pressure to force the Islamic Republic to sue for peace. That's an interesting way of putting that. So there we are. Now, listen, and again, the media wants this to be a loss. Politico, the media and the left want it to be a loss. Let me give you a couple examples of this quickly because I want to get to Carolyn Levitt. Politico writes, the Iran war is a whole new level of quagmire for the U.S. So this is worse than anything we've ever been in. We've talked about this on the program, where they want you to think this is the longest war we've ever been in, that there's no end in sight and that there's no winning in sight. And that's exactly what Politico's Natal Tusi writes. We should stop now, cut our losses, and rethink our defense strategy, said Jennifer Kavanaugh of the Restraint-Focused Defense Priorities think tank. The danger is that this could lead to the emboldened Iran that the hawks fear, one even more likely to partner with China and Russia, as if they haven't already partnered with China and Russia, and sow terror that ultimately could reach America. The perils of walking away from a failed state, or perhaps a failed region in this case, is a lesson the U.S. was supposed to have learned from Afghanistan and the 9/11 attacks. That's another weird way of putting that. And it isn't clear to me that the current polarized U.S. body politic has the discipline to coalesce around a new defense strategy. Anyway, you get the idea. On MS Now, Senator John Ossoff said the Trump administration's military action in Iran is based on lies. If there was a threat to the president, it's quite reasonable for the public in the Congress to ask whether the poor operational security at this White House may have contributed to it. I want to express on behalf of everybody in Georgia our deep gratitude and appreciation for the sailors and the naval aviators from the Marines who are deployed and who are putting their lives on the line in service of the U.S. I think we have to step back and recognize that the entire war is based on lies. They told us last year that the Iranian nuclear threat was obliterated. Then they told us earlier this year that there was an imminent nuclear threat. Both times lies. On day 4 of this war, President Trump declared victory months ago. Secretary Hegseth said that all of our objectives have been achieved. The war continues. Iran still has its uranium. Hormuz remains closed. This is a complete fiasco. It is a catastrophic failure by the commander-in-chief personally and his entire national security team. But Ossoff, and this is also really important as we talk about getting motivated, right? Motivated before the November election. He said that when Democrats win control of both chambers of Congress in the midterm elections, accountability is coming. They see the writing on the wall this fall, Ossoff said. They see the rebuke that is coming, and they fear the accountability that will follow it. They recognize the president is deeply unpopular. He's reviled. The public is awake to his corruption and self-dealing. And so they are trying to build a barrier around the president, the first family, the White House staff, and the cabinet to try to make them impervious to congressional investigation, to try to protect all of these abuses of power and all of this self-dealing from the kind of rigorous congressional investigation that will expose the truth and allow the American public to ensure there's accountability for wrongdoing. I don't think it will work. The truth will come out. Mark my words. After Watergate, there were safeguards put into place to try to prevent these kinds of erroneous presidential abuses of power. They're basically demolishing all of that in service to this man's self-dealing, his self-enrichment, his endless pursuit of vendettas. Isn't that kind of self-reflection when you just made that two-paragraph statement and then said he's in pursuit of vendettas? Interesting. They can try to protect him from congressional oversight, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I tie those two things together, but it's all in the name of Iran. At the New York Post, they say Tehran is losing its grip on Hormuz, and that means all of its leverage. All the noise around Iran's supposed stranglehold on oil supplies is missing the point. The reality is that the combination of Operations Midnight Hammer and Epic Fury upended the regime's hopes of turning Hormuz into a permanent hostage. Its ruling clerics will now pay the price for activating a blockade without their most important insurance card, perhaps sooner than they think. Had the regime in Tehran followed late Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's plan, weaponized its nuclear program, built an arsenal of thousands of ballistic missiles and drones, and assembled its regional proxies into an even more formidable force, then its blockade of Hormuz would likely be permanent. That kind of potency would have deterred America and Israel's action and rebuilt Iran's economy into a formidable global energy power. Instead, after several months of airstrikes by the U.S. and Israel, Iran's nuclear and missile programs are badly damaged, and its economy is collapsing from a blockade and sanctions. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds on this, but I thought that was an interesting point. They lost their card, if you will. What's shaping up, therefore, is not merely a victory over Iran. It's seen through to completion. If seen through to completion, these developments will set the stage for a new American century in which the flow of energy, both oil and liquefied natural gas, will be liberated from the manipulation of rogue states like Iran's regime. This is the direction in which we are headed, but we're not at our destination yet. That's why President Trump needs to double down and resist the temptation to cut a deal with Iran that legitimizes its control over Hormuz. Better to focus on marginalizing Iran so that its threats are empty ones. That will truly be a legacy for future generations. That's Mark Dubowitz, Chief Executive of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about Carolyn Leavitt. But like I said, I think it's really interesting. As we near the midterms, we're going to see more and more of this. But the hit piece is out on Trump. There's one, and they must be concerned about 2028. There's one, the Vanity Fair did a whole, I want to say it printed out at 21 pages about J.D. Vance and Usha Vance. And it's more focused on Usha Vance. And just to show you how much everything drips in bias with the mainstream media, what is Usha Vance thinking is the headline of the article. But we're also going to talk a couple updates. I got a couple updates from shows past. We're also going to talk about New York State issues, but I do have some more. I know it's a common theme, but the Democratic Socialists of America, as yesterday Francesca Hong, 2 days ago, lost her race, what that means for the DSA, what that means for the, I think you can only say Socialist Democrats. I know they say progressive. I don't know how you can say some of the Democrats in there aren't already far left. But they're trying to, as they always do, kind of change the lexicon, change the meaning of words to downplay. So we're going to talk about that, all that, and much more. My goodness. Can you see what I mean when I say we have an exciting, jam-packed show in store? Well, we're just getting warmed up. It's about 15 after the hour, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music.
I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Our Thursday features a mix of clouds and sun, a west wind, and a temperature right around average with a high of 82, ranging from 77 toward 83 across the region. Then we'll find ourselves with overnight lows in the upper 50s and low 60s, partly cloudy conditions. 81 on Friday. We'll see some nice sunshine going through Saturday, maintaining that. Then some additional rain comes our way Sunday.
Oh no! You got to restart the, frankly speaking, roof cam. That's a bummer to kick off the program, the whole thing like that. Well, welcome back, and we thank Boss Security as always. That is unrelated to them. That is a technical glitch, but I just got 3 extra waves as a group walked by. That's nice. We're kicking off with pretty good numbers here. All right, Mark writes in. He says, "Good morning, Frank." Well, good morning, Mark. The press knows President Trump is a potential target here and abroad, so if they travel with him, they should know there are potential problems. Yeah, to make it all about the press, that's just what the press does. I mean, I think we've all seen it firsthand at this point. All right, Carolyn Leavitt is leaving the White House. It's a disappointment. She's done a great job. I would say that, and this is both political parties, so when a Democrat's in there, Republicans hate the press secretary, call her a liar. When Republicans in there, Democrats say the same thing. I would have to think that even a Democrat, if they took a step back, would have to admit that as a press secretary, if you put R&D aside, effective and a very good press secretary. Leavitt, 28, a mother of 2 and the youngest ever White House press secretary, gave birth to her second child, Viviana, nice name, in May and had officially just returned from maternity leave last month. Trump hailed her as one of my most trusted aides. Carolyn will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party as we work to defy history and conclusively win the midterm elections. Carolyn has been a real leader in the White House and has done a phenomenal job fighting for justice, liberty, and freedom since 2018, including our historic re-election campaign of 2024, the president added. Carolyn has been one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office. She was very impressive, especially coming after Biden's press secretary with the notebook. It just very professional. What an amazing job that she did. Leavitt had served as an intern in the first Trump administration, then ran unsuccessfully for a House seat in New Hampshire during the 2022 midterm elections before joining Trump's 2024 campaign. During the campaign, she gave birth to her first child, Nico. 3 days later, Trump was shot and nearly assassinated during his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. She is the first White House press secretary to give birth to a young child while holding the role, which is notorious for burnout. Most recent White House press secretaries lasted from between 1.5 years to almost 3 years. Trump had 4 different press secretaries during his first term. Leavitt called her time in the role the honor and adventure of a lifetime, saying, quote, "I've spoken with great pride about the many historic accomplishments of the administration, and I've relished holding the liberal media accountable and ensuring the American people hear the truth about President Trump's successes. The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom my 2 young children deserve while devoting the constant time, energy, and attention required of the White House press secretary. And that is why I've ultimately made the bittersweet decision to depart. She vowed to always remain a vocal advocate for MAGA and the Republican Party, and warned that the country is facing an existential threat from an increasingly extremist Democrat Party. Yeah, she was good. You know, in the past, President says she's a star. I don't think anybody has ever had a better press secretary than Carolyn. J.D. Vance reacted to it on X, saying Carolyn Leavitt is one of the hardest has one of the hardest jobs in the administration, dealing with the relentless attacks from the fake news media. She did the job with grace, wit, and a smile on her face. She's been one of the most effective voices in articulating and defending the president's agenda, and I'm incredibly grateful for her. I know how difficult yet rewarding a constant job like this can be for a young parent, he added. We're sad to see her go, but I know she'll continue to do great things. It is amazing because when they talk about, you know, the attacks from the left in the media, I've got, as I said, so many examples of that this morning, and Carolyn could just handle it so well. They're looking at possible successors. I think it's probably, they said they don't have a replacement yet, but sources within and close to the administration told the New York Post that early frontrunners for the role are believed to include Alina Habba, the former acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, and Breitbart Washington Bureau Chief Matthew Boyle. Interesting. Boyle, meanwhile, is a favorite among well-connected Trump allies who recognize the dogged Breitbart scribe's fiery but steady presence in the conservative media ecosystem. Trump knows Boyle by name and has given him many interviews, including a recent Oval Office sit-down. His experience with investigative work targeting public figures and close coverage of the Trump movement convey working knowledge of how to manage and mitigate PR challenges. Yeah, good question. I mean, these are just some of the names thrown around. Also subject to heavy speculation are Katie Miller, a former aide to Elon Musk at Doge, and the wife of Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Stephen Miller, as well as Principal Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly, and U.S. Chief of Protocol Monica Crowley. Oh, that'd be interesting, a former journalist. Also, it looks as if Stephen Chung will be kind of handling the role for the time being. In the gambling world, longtime Trump advisor Jason Miller placed second to Habba before fading as a major bets replaced vaulting Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's wife, Rachel Campos Duffy, to 65% likelihood before failed LA mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt took the lead. So I think the betting markets are a little all over the place. I would say that Pratt, probably a dark horse in this one. Other names, Scott Jennings from CNN. Carrie Lake, wow, the who's who. Now, that's going to be kind of a close one to watch, and it will shape up. Press Secretary has a lot to say. As a matter of fact, even Stephen Collinson from CNN, no fans of Carolyn Leavitt, no fans of President Trump, said why Carolyn Leavitt might be impossible for Trump to replace. Now, I'm sure it's not going to be a positive note. Trump hardly needs anyone else to serve as his mouthpiece. The most clamorous president in modern history always gets his message out in a daily riot of online posts, interviews, and rancor with reporters. The departure of press secretary therefore might seem like a trifle to the messenger-in-chief, but the exit announced Wednesday represents a significant personal and political loss. The vacuum she'll leave will emphasize her role as a vital member of the president's brain trust. But she is far more than a spokesperson. Leavitt understands the Trump id. She's been a leader in his second-term assault on Washington's institutions of accountability. In this case, the Beltway Press. Oh, is that an institute of accountability, the Beltway Press? Just like the boss, she broke the mold of her position, and with relentless trolling of reporters, she's exposed the fractures of traditional journalism in the social media age. Leavitt said on social media on Wednesday that since the birth of her second child, we know all of that, they're calling it a Herculean assignment to have this job. But there's grave questions about press freedom. Leavitt's tenure will be remembered as devastating to the quaint notion that the press has a vital role in holding presidents to account. Critics saw an attempt to introduce propagandists who go soft on Trump. Anyway, you get the idea. Another article all about the press, as I guess is going to be the case this morning. But they put themselves to such a high standard, and let's face it, they've lost all credibility because that standard is not there any longer. I would argue it's been decades it has not been there, if not longer. But you can't give former President Biden kid glove treatment for 4 years. Make the argument, well, they told us he was fine, as if they just had to listen to everything that his people said. And then with their constant attacks, well, you know what? This is going to lead into one of the stories I was going to say for bias. But let me show you exactly what I mean why they've lost their credibility. Because and that's just on one instance. Don't think there's not a million more. But the fact that they covered for Biden, and now look at this piece, I'll bring it up to you when we return, from the New York Times. I was Dick Cheney's cardiologist. Trump has not looked well, and we should know why. When I read this, you're going to say, where was this coverage when we were seeing with our eyes what was happening to Biden? But again, they want you to believe what they say, not what you see. Same with Trump. Never mind that he's out constantly, these press junkets, that's not the right term, I know, talking with reporters, event after event, rallies after rallies. Never mind what you're seeing. A healthy man, believe what the media tells you. So we'll talk about that just quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it is going to get your blood boiling, and it's only 6:26. So I don't want to start your day angry. But we have a lot to cover. I think that'll be a good segue from Carolyn Levitt. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
Free local pantry here in her front lawn in Painted Post.
The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
This is one of the busiest highways in America. Thousands of trucks travel up and down it all hours of the day, and big trucks can cause catastrophic injuries. That's when you need the power of William Mattar, the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. At William Mattar, we only handle motor vehicle accident cases, and we fight for big money and big results. Hurt in a car, only call William Mattar.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So the New York Times has a guest essay from Dr. Jonathan Rayner, MD. And he says that he was Dick Cheney's cardiologist, and he says that Trump doesn't look well. Again, this would have been a great piece considering Joe Biden, not only with the mental and physical health, what about the sad issue with cancer? But in this case, I don't want to go through all this. He gives us history about working with Cheney, but he put together what he sees as the problem. Again, not having met with Trump, having worked on a man who also disliked Trump. Dr. Barbella's recent report states that the president was evaluated by 22 consultants, an extraordinary number of specialists for even the most extensive executive health evaluation. Why were so many physicians summoned, and what were their specialties? 2, Mr. Trump, and these are the questions he believes need to be asked. 2, Mr. Trump often shows prominent bruising on his hand, which the White House has attributed to frequent handshaking and frequent use of aspirin. Trauma from handshaking has never seemed plausible. It doesn't explain why the president's left hand is often similarly discolored. Also, why would the president take a dose of aspirin 4 times as high as the dose typically recommended by doctors? 3, the swelling of the president's leg. I'm not going to go through all of them. 4, the president often appears to struggle to stay awake. I started reading this. I said, where was this 4 years ago? Not even, 4 years under Biden. Anyway, you get the idea. These are the pieces that they're putting out. But the United States does not have a king. In a representative democracy, the people must have confidence in the health of their leader and in the leader's capacity to guide the nation. We have been kept in the dark too long. The hit pieces never end. All right, a couple quick updates. Oh, I do have other hit pieces, unfortunately, on the president and the vice president. But a couple of updates that there are no real ways to segue to. Then we'll get more into the media, a little bit about Democrat Socialists of America, a little bit here about New York State issues, an update on Blakeman. Yesterday we talked about, the last couple of days, we talked about the education system and the failures there. We talked about the dismal numbers of children that can read, essentially, in New York schools. We talked about kind of the dumbing down of grades. Well, a Texas high school teacher has went viral as he was reduced to tears and broke down in front of his class when he realized the seniors in his class that he was teaching couldn't complete a writing exercise. Darius Williams, a teacher for Houston Independent School District's Wheatley High School, said he couldn't get through the first class of the second day of school before his students' poor literacy skills were too much for him. I just finished a 3-hour class and I literally broke down in the middle of the class. Excuse me. He gave his class full of seniors 2 paragraphs to read and asked them to complete another sentence he had practically filled out for them, but was left stunned when they couldn't finish the task. I basically completed the sentence for them, he said. These are 17 and 18-year-old kids, and they couldn't fill in 4 words. 4 words. I gave them the scenario. I gave them the answer before we even had the problem, and they couldn't do it. I don't know. I simply don't know where the problem is. This is only day 2, and I have seniors who simply cannot read and seniors who cannot write. They cannot write. Our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls, he said about, I took out a sentence there. The broken down teacher who had red eyes and tears streaming down his face said his students can talk, reason, and defend their reasoning, but can't apply those skills to written text. That's when he started to cry, saying our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls. And that's when he cried and ended the video. We talked about the education system. He did respond after this went viral. For those of you who may have an issue or problem with me teaching young adults, take the charge, you do it. You get certified, walk into these high schools, you get a classroom, you stand in front of 22 kids each period, and let me see how well you do. Now, Williams' breakdown in the middle of class came days after it was revealed that a majority of New York City students between 3rd and 5th grades failed their English language arts test last school year. Preliminary results released this week by the State Education Department found 57% of 3rd graders, 52% of 4th graders, and 57% of 5th graders all got failing marks on their tests. All right, also, I'm going to move fast here. The ex-Southern Poverty Law Center CFO, remember we talked about the Poverty Law Center, Southern Poverty Law Center. They were a group that would basically label any conservative group domestic terrorists, these type of things. Always completely biased, but the media would quote them. The media loved quoting them. Then we learned allegedly they were paying essentially people in hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan. Well, a former Southern Poverty Law Center finance officer was charged Wednesday for her leading role in having the left-wing nonprofit secretly pay informants to participate in white supremacist groups. Heidi Barrick of Palm Springs made her initial appearance in federal court in California. CNN reported that she had been arrested earlier that day. A 26-page superseding indictment naming Barrick, who was first unmasked by the New York Post in June, was later filed in the Middle District of Alabama. Attorney General Todd Blanche said there's a new indictment that includes the former CFO of SPLC. He confirmed in an unrelated news conference, adding that there had been an arrest made, though Barrick's attorney said she apparently voluntarily came to court. FBI Director Kash Patel said Barrick was at the center of our ongoing investigation into SPLC, which found the nonprofit knowingly misled donors who believed their money were being used to dismantle violent extremist organizations, when in fact part of their donations were instead being used to pay senior leadership within those extremist groups. Wednesday's superseding indictment accused Barrick of helping to get $1.2 million in donor money to an informant in the white supremacist group National Alliance, who was also purportedly her lover. That worked out very well. Anyway, you get the idea, but that's another update. Moving along. We got 2 more other updates that I need to bring to you before we talk a little bit more about the media. I'll talk a little bit about DSA. We're moving fast. I know I'm going through a lot, so stay with us. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Every job has a moment where it could slow down or it could keep moving. At D&L Supply and Rental, we focus on what actually matters, keeping your momentum. From emergency rentals to weekend projects, we make it easy, we make it fast, we make it right. Less downtime, because our team knows the job, has what you need, and gets it to you even on Saturdays. D&L, built for momentum.
You deserve primary care that connects. Care that helps you move forward. To a provider who knows you, to the care you need, to the life you love. That's the power of a strong connection. Meet your new primary care provider at centralishealth.org/schedule and be seen within a week.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Our Thursday features a mix of clouds and sun, a west wind, and a temperature right around average with a high of 82, ranging from 77 toward 83 across the region. Then we'll find ourselves with overnight lows in the upper 50s and low 60s, partly cloudy conditions. 81 on Friday. We'll see some nice sunshine going through Saturday, maintaining that. Then some additional rain comes our way Sunday.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Mark writes in this morning and says, maybe Trump's problems are stress from the press. They need to back off him and leave him alone. There you go. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Did you hear, I hate to give updates on this, but I think it's important to know, the alleged, you still got to say alleged, accused assassin of Charlie Kirk, they laid out the reasons why he should avoid the death penalty. Tyler Robinson wants to dodge the death penalty. According to new court documents, the reasoning, his bullet only, quote, hit the intended target when it killed Charlie Kirk. Robinson's attorneys claim that no one person was in danger during Kirk's Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University last year, an aggravating factor that would make it a capital crime. The only evidence presented supports that the bullet traveled above, not through the crowd. Prosecutors maintain that Robinson loaded his rifle with 4 bullets, suggesting that he knew he could miss Kirk and thereby putting others in danger. The defense, however, argued it is just as likely that the shooter did not believe he would miss. Whether Robinson put the crowd of spectators at the Turning Point USA event remains a key element needed to charge him with aggravated murder. Put the crowd of spectators, I think that meant in harm's way. Just giving you that update. Yesterday, before we get into the media bias, Trump, this is a topic that the media still runs with constantly. It's so tedious. Trump might try to run for a 3rd term. Well, he was asked again Tuesday night from a reporter about the possibility of him running for a 3rd term. Everybody asks me that question. And you know that the law is very strong on that. I'd love to run, but the law is very strong. I get asked by everyone, well, even tonight, they're screaming at the event, 2028. No, everybody wants me to do it, but the law is very strong. So brushing it aside again. Well, because they take everything that Trump says so literally. So when he makes a joke, like at that rally, like I'm here to make a big announcement about my campaign, those type of things, you and I that have followed Trump, we laugh. But the media goes, oh, it's a threat to democracy, his calls for potentially running for a third term. Okay, speaking of reporters, this is so, I think Usha Vance is such an amazing person, and we don't know a ton about her. I mean, what the media reports, I don't trust, and that's why, because Vanity Fair does a piece like this. What is Usha Vance thinking? It's patronizing to say that she's been silenced, one Yale law classmate says of J.D. Vance's wife, who has perfected the art of knowing where she stands in the Trump administration's political pecking order. She has chosen this. This is all dripping with a hatred for her. And it's 21 pages. I'm not going through all of it. She built JD into this creation is what the argument of this piece is by Vanity Fair. A 5,500-word profile cast Usha Vance as a sophisticated lawyer and a mother of four who has been JD's spirit guide to elite institutional life since the pair met 16 years ago at Yale Law School. Usha saw tremendous potential in JD. She built JD into the creation of the Coastal Corridor. It's not an immigrant story, it's a meritocracy story. When it comes to her romance with Vance, the 6'2" U.S. Marine was always her type. She does like a man who has a lot to say for himself. In the past, most of her liaisons have been tall, handsome, and conservative, according to a profile in a Yale publication cited in Vanity Fair. Vance didn't sit for an interview with Vanity Fair, but the magazine spoke to former classmates and the couple's friends to outline the instrumental role Usha played in JD's meteoric rise from lawyer to senator and now vice president of the United States. Her almost invisible presence is by design. Quote, like many ambitious spouses of powerful politicians, Usha has learned to operate in private, the magazine noted. She has been quite quiet but visible presence at her husband's side, traveling with him on some of his most high-profile trips, including a trip to Greenland in March of 2025 and to Switzerland in June for peace talks with Iran, this one while pregnant. Their closeness was their trait from the start. At Yale, they were a popular couple on campus, earning the nickname Judusha, a mashup of JD, Usha, and judicial. After graduation, Usha Vance built her own legal career. It goes through all this, blah, blah, blah. She's proven she can definitely handle the spotlight or when things don't go as planned. When President Trump appeared on her podcast last month to read the children's book President's Play, Usha was unfazed when he strayed from the text to offer commentary about his presidential predecessors. Her relationship with First Lady Melania Trump is cordial despite their differences. For one, the former model makes high-end fashion choices compared with Vance, who embraces off-the-rack affordable clothing. It's patronizing to say she's been silenced. She chose this. All right. That's the kind of, we've talked about this in the past. First ladies, in this case, Usha, second ladies, would be on the front cover of these magazines. They would have glowing pieces written about them if they're Democrats. But of course, that is not the case. So what is Usha thinking? You can find that for yourself. I think I found it linked on Drudge Report. All right, where do I want to go from here? Because I want to talk about the Democrat Socialists of America, but I feel like we're running through so many things. We got plenty of time because it's just you and I this morning. When we return, a couple of updates, I guess you could call them. Then we'll talk about DSA. Your opinion, I know we've been talking about this. Bruce Blakeman yesterday, nearing in the polls, looking better at this time. Again, it's Siena, take it with a grain of salt. But looking better at this time than Lee Zeldin did. The Democrats are clearly scared. They're suing him because he's using AI. He responded to that. We'll talk about that. We also have a couple other just kind of, like I said, generic updates. One of those mornings where I just can't necessarily find a way to segue to everything. But I hope you keep your comments coming in because it is just you and I this morning. No guests. Tomorrow we will learn all about India Day. We look forward to that. India Day, our yearly tradition of talking with our guests from Stica. I never know how they pronounce it. S-T-I-C-A. We'll talk with them. Stica. India Day 2026. It'll be right here in Centerway Square, downtown Corning, from 4 to 8 p.m. We'll find out what all the events are. And also, you can hit up both. Rotary Club is also having their event, Summer Feast, Pig Swig, and Boogie Hawaiian Barbecue on Saturday as well from 1 to 6 p.m. We learned about that late last week. Anytime you miss one of our interviews, because I know we have some fan favorites, or you want to find out about events coming up, just go to our website, WYDCTV.com, or you can go to our YouTube page. This week, of course, we talked about Young Frankenstein. We talked about that book about Julia Tyler called Presidentes. And tomorrow we'll have India Day up there, probably a couple hours after we have the interview. Next week is already filling up. My goodness. Anyway, enough killing time. I hear the Corning whistle. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. After this.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
The best nail salon?
Ask Google. The best sub shop? Ask Google.
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google. We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during our Make This the Summer event.
Visit Ferrario Jeep in Elmira or FerrarioElmira.com.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So we've talked so often about Hollywood celebrities that get, or musicians that get politically active. And there's an interesting, the left demands that action. See if you're quiet. And we're going to talk about Taylor Swift in just a second, but it'll make sense. Taylor Swift, for a while, was kind of quiet when it came to politics, and they said she has a soapbox, how dare she? Her silence is violence, right? So these Hollywood stars and musicians almost have an obligation, if they want to keep their job, keep their popularity, not get attacked, they have to be far left. Well, according to Judy Kurtz, and I don't buy this premise, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. As the midterm elections are heating up, more and more Hollywood stars say they're putting a freeze on speaking out about politics, perhaps after feeling the 2024 White House race burn. You know, again, I was surprised, and I shouldn't have been, that Kamala Harris went so extreme with wanting celebrities to endorse her, to be a part of her campaign, because it was such a failure for Hillary Clinton. It doesn't equate to the popularity they think it will. In recent months, entertainers from The Rock to Jennifer Lawrence and Paris Hilton have said they intend on keeping their political views out of the spotlight. Susan Del Percio, a longtime GOP strategist, said, "I think celebrities are seeing a backlash and making a calculated decision that this is just not worth it for them." I wonder. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson said, "I've learned I'm going to keep my politics to myself." But what this ignores is how much hate he got for saying that. Who was it? I can't remember who it was that said, and we brought it up on the show. Because The Rock said he didn't want to bring up politics, another Hollywood actor called him a coward. Never thought he was such a coward. See, they demand, and this is the same problem. I'm going to go on a tangent here, but this is the same problem that the Democrat Socialists of America have, because you could all be in the organization, and today you're all 100% in line, but the mood changes on some issue. So now you're 99% in line with the DSA, and I'm 100% in line. I'm going to attack you because I've got to be the victim. I have to be oppressed, and you've got to be the villain. That's what happens here. Hollywood celebrities can be 99% of the time talking about politics. It's that 1% of the time that they get turned on, that they group, the masses turn on them, the far left masses. And Anyway, A-lister after A-lister, from Beyonce to Bruce Springsteen to Taylor Swift and George Clooney, appeared to rally behind Harris. So what they're assuming is that that was such a disastrous campaign that it's burnt these people out on politics. Harris was overshadowed by her celebrity endorsers, and she was deeply criticized by the public for her excessive use of celebrities. But people forget their history. Hillary Clinton received the same kind of criticism. But yeah, Harris continued. In many ways, Williams is an associate professor of communications and media studies, said celebs flooding the zone in 2024 served as a precursor to the current trend of celebrity disengagement from politics. The last presidential election could have left a bad taste in the mouths, not just of some performers who waded into politics, but also voters. People are tired of celebrities telling them how to think politically and how to vote, especially when private citizens view celebrities as being detached from their daily challenges and their social economic realities. Shortly after Harris's Election Day loss, Jennifer Lawrence, a fierce and vocal critic of Trump, indicated she was rethinking her outspoken approach. I don't really know if I should. The first Trump administration was so wild, and just how can we let this stand? I felt like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But as we've learned, elections after elections, celebrities do not make a difference whatsoever on who people vote for. So what am I going to do? I'm just sharing my opinion on something that's going to add fuel to a fire that's ripping the country apart. We are so divided. Anyway. Jessica Friesel, University of New Mexico political science professor, said evidence has shown that celebrity endorsements, specifically ones from musicians, can move public opinion and can increase support for certain policies. But data has also suggested that if anything, it really is a small effect, and that politics and public opinion is rooted much more in enduring values. Socioeconomic status, party identification, those things are very strong. So do you really think, I think this is a lot to do about nothing. They go through the history of protest songs. It's really quite tedious. But we talked about the lecturing by Bruce Springsteen and others. I've been saying it for a long time. You've heard me say it. I think it does more damage to the Democrat Party when they bring out these celebrities that have no idea the struggles that you have in your life, lecturing you about how you're an idiot if you vote for Trump. But through all of her political activism, Taylor Swift is now being attacked by greedy Democrats. She hasn't done enough. I'm going to tell you about that real quick, and then we're going to wrap up hour number one, and we'll get into some real nitty-gritty, meat and bones kind of topics. Stay with us.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So, as I said, Taylor Swift, very politically active, obviously made lots and lots of money. And we had said on this program a long time ago, when does the left turn on her? Because I think you could say she's relatively greedy. That if you're a fan of hers, she'll put out one album, and if you want to collect them, there's 4 or 5 different things, and the only thing different isn't the music, it's the different quote in the album cover, these type of things. So then young fans go out and buy 5 albums to collect. It's It's greed. Well, Taylor Swift is enemy number one now to cash-grabbing Democrats in Rhode Island. They've named their state's new vacation home property tax after her. They and other radical leftists across the country claim that by attacking the rich, including celebs like Swift, they're saving democracy. Their new forms of taxation, including wealth taxes, mansion taxes, and second home taxes, are fueled by jealousy and hatred for our free market system. The work ethic, and everything American. And while Mayor Zohran Mamdani's second house tax has been stalled in court, his enemies list of ordinary homeowners is evidence that you are the next target. You may not consider yourself rich, but if you live in a blue state, these new forms of taxation will eventually hit you too. After all, they have a way of expanding. New York State Legislature is already considering a plan to impose the two-house tax statewide, according to Republican State Senator and friend of Frankly Speaking, George Borrello. Taylor Swift shelled out $17.75 million for her oceanfront Watch Hill, Rhode Island spread back in 2013. But the tax, which went into effect 2 weeks ago, is slapped on any vacation home worth over $1 million and occupied less than half the year. Similar tax-the-rich schemes are building steam in Connecticut, D.C., and California, and they'll continue until not a single state is a safe haven. The Democrat Socialists of America vowed back in June. Safe haven, wow. Connecticut Democrats are ramming through a mansion tax, its first ever statewide property tax, an annual levy on homes valued at over $3 million, whether they're primary residents or not. That's on top of the sky-high local property taxes residents already pay. And the state legislature's veto-proof Democratic majority likely won't stop with the priciest homes. Connecticut's first income tax, imposed in 1991, was supposed to be temporary. 3 decades later, it's still in effect, and it's expanded from a flat rate to 7 ever higher brackets. Washington, D.C. is also proposing a mansion tax on high-value residents, all those valued at more than $2.5 million. 3 tiny but Tony neighborhoods will bear the brunt: Georgetown, Kalorama, and Massachusetts Avenue Heights. Plenty of wealthy politicians will be hit, but unfortunately not Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, vocal advocates for wealth taxes. They don't live there. Mansion taxes are proxies for wealth taxes. But in November, Californians will vote on the real thing, the nation's first tax on total net worth. The Billionaires Tax Act, or Proposition 40, is billed as a one-time 5% tax on all forms of wealth, from homes and yachts to stocks, bonds, and ownership interests in private companies, where the real money is. Its backers say 90% of the revenue will go to support healthcare services for Californians, and healthcare unions are its biggest supporters. Don't buy the one-time claim. Once healthcare services are funded, does anyone really believe they'll turn the spigot off? The state Democrat Party endorses the tax, but not presidential wannabe Governor Gavin Newsom. He's pivoted instead to a national wealth tax, warning that otherwise more California billionaires will follow Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, others, and head for the exits. Newsom joins a chorus of lefties, including Warren and Sanders, making the preposterous argument that the existence of billionaires threatens democracy. Billionaire Mike Bloomberg blew through hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money seeking the Democrat presidential nomination in 2020 and won support only from America Samoa. And have they forgotten the $2 billion Kamala Harris burned in her failed White House run? Money doesn't guarantee political success, but democracy is threatened by dire poverty. Hungry people will succumb more easily to the promise of a dictator. And poverty in the U.S. is half of what it was in 1959 when the U.S. Census began measuring it. The ideologues calling for wealth taxes aren't telling you the truth. Wealth taxes are economy killers, and workers are the victim. Wake up, America. You too are in the tax-the-rich crosshairs. Call out these left-wing demagogues for their lies. In Taylor Swift's words, be fearless. That's Betsy McKay, the former lieutenant governor of New York. All right, we're out of time. I thought that was interesting. We got a lot to talk about with Democrat Socialists of America, a lot of New York State updates. We've got an hour together, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
The more American than apple pie and 4th of July is baseball. This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Just turn on WJKP 48.2 and grab a comfortable seat right at home to watch baseball history unfold. Make sure you don't miss a home run. And tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Our Thursday features a mix of clouds and sun, a west wind, and a temperature right around average with a high of 82. Ranging from 77 toward 83 across the region. Then we'll find ourselves with overnight lows in the upper 50s and low 60s, partly cloudy conditions. 81 on Friday. We'll see some nice sunshine going through Saturday, maintaining that. Then some additional rain comes our way Sunday.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We have a lot to get to this hour. I see that Hassan Piker, the far left socialist podcaster who has said despicable things on his podcast in the past, but he campaigned with al-Assad. Now al-Assad's trying to distance himself from Piker, but Piker was the same one that when the numbers were coming in for al-Assad, that he said when they didn't look like a huge blowout win, he said that all the voters are Islamophobic, which is interesting because when you think about it, he's talking about his own party, right? Well, he was furious that Francesca Hong lost. Hong was the one, again, that was anti-Thanksgiving. Piker, who had stumped with Hong during the final weeks of her primary, blamed older Americans for her loss and struggled to talk about the blow to the far left. I don't want to read this because I will blanking kill myself with a gun in a video game. I guess that's his clever way of saying that. I can't. I'm in a good mood overall. I want to put boomers in the machine, in the contraption, and not just boomers, like anyone that says that. That was in reference to a tweet about an article where someone had said, well, I liked Hong. I think we even mentioned this article yesterday on the program. I liked Hong, but I just don't think she's electable. And I'm not going to go through all the crazy things this Piker has said in the past. But he said, yes, this is part of why we came close to victory but ultimately lost. I should never be the biggest surrogate of a campaign. And that was in reference to a comment that this guy was Hong's biggest surrogate. And as I've said, campaigning with Piker is a death trap, possibly in a primary, but certainly in the general election. Electability in the primaries and harm reduction in the general still carries lots of boomers when it's paired with a barrage of negative earned media. No defensive TV ads, no national progressive endorsements. All in all, an unbelievably impressive showing for DSA and their ground game. So saying that she did, and I mean, she didn't receive the endorsement of Bernie Sanders, so he's not wrong there. But when you are going with the extreme left, you got to be prepared for this. Democrat Representative Gwen Moore was on CNN this morning, and she was asked, I know you also won your primary last night against a progressive candidate. When you hear those voters say things like, hey, this is a wake-up call, was that your lesson? Do you feel like this was a wake-up call for you? Gwen Moore said, well, good morning. And first of all, I am a progressive as well. And David Crowley is a progressive as well. I think we are terrified of how Republicans define us. And Francesca Hong decided to call herself a Democrat socialist. And that the Republicans sort of want to use that jargon as a cudgel to prevent Democrat voters from supporting in the general election that candidate. I just want to say that Francesca Hong ran an absolutely splendid campaign, and she did focus on things that are on people's mind, which is why she received so many votes. So it's the Republicans that want to use socialism against them. Remember, they have embraced the term socialist. We had that laundry list of things they want to get rid of, like the Senate, prisons. That was their words. Hakeem Piker saying that America deserved 9/11. Those are their words. It's not Republicans mislabeling them. It's just quoting them. But according to the Post, late Tuesday night, establishment Democrats finally exhaled after holding their collective breath at the polls, as the polls proved to have badly overestimated the far left's appeal in the Wisconsin governor's primary. Thanksgiving-hating socialist Francesca Hong narrowly lost to David Crowley, showing the limits of the radical left's appeal in a Midwest swing state, as long as the normal Democrat has a modicum of charisma and organizational support. Regular Democrats also know the polls were about as badly off in last week's Michigan Senate primary. Far-left Abdul al-Sahad squeaked through because he did have far more charisma and avoid the actual Democrat socialist label. Anti-Trump anger may carry him over the finish line in November, but the left is still furious at how far it's falling behind in those polls. Hassan Piker tweeted angrily of Hong's defeat, "Outlaw Thanksgiving and outlaw boomers," the boomer generation. What's now obvious is that those polls didn't capture the rural voters and urban blacks who aren't remotely sold on the left's agenda. To win, the extremists need low turnout primaries in gentrifying urban districts in deep blue states, or candidates with the charm to attract a broader coalition. Then again, the left is still pulling the Democrat Party its way. The establishment is rushing to legitimize al-Assad, and all too many candidates, for example, still don't dare speak common sense on issues like protecting women's spaces for males identifying as females. That may not stop Democrats from winning back the House and even the Senate this fall, but it's going to limit their gains until they can start reliably defeating the left in their own primaries. On the other hand, the lefties are learning too. Don't expect them to put their future hopes on losers like Francesca Hong. But her embarrassment did expose, according to Isaac Shore, expose the kind of the weakness, if you will, in the entire movement. But again, I know we've said it on this program. I've said it a lot. I think the Democrat Socialists of America were very good at the ground game, and they realized that they went to deep blue states like New York, and if they could just win that primary by outworking the quote-unquote establishment Democrat, then they would be guaranteed, once they win that primary, they're guaranteed to have won in the general. That's how far left these areas were. But they were going after candidates that were easier to attack, easier to, again, and I think that's what's going to be interesting about al-Assad. Okay, he won that primary. Is he going to win that general election? Because many of the ones they banked, what Democrat Socialists of America are banking on is the fact that there is going to be this hatred of Trump that's going to carry on into November, and that any Democrat Socialist of America that wins the primary is going to win the general. That is their thought. That's why they work so hard on the general. But Isaac Shore said, despite the history and anger at police, prison, and Thanksgiving abolitionists, Governor Tony Evers' effort to boost her opponent and the Sanders-Cortez axis abandonment of her, Hong had appeared to be on a glide path to the Democrat nomination. Every recent survey of the race had suggested that she would win and win handily on Tuesday. In the final days of her campaign, Hong herself appeared assured of her own inevitability. She barely bothered to distinguish herself from her opponent, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, and couldn't contain a smirk as she fantasized about welcoming Evers to her team in shorter order. In a particular disturbing, hubristic attack on the press, her staff even turned journalists from both the Post and Fox News away at the door of her election night watch party. Would a Hong administration have also arbitrarily denied adversarial media access to her? I guess we'll never know. She was so drunk on the idea of wielding power that she forgot to earn it. Despite having suspended his campaign for a week and change just last month and being written off by the national press, Crowley shocked the world, dealing a painful blow to both Hong and the movement from which she hails. Socialist with radical holiday-hating politics, have hit pay dirt in deep blue New York City. One even prevailed in next-door Michigan last week. But as it turns out, those victories also depend on the quality of the winning candidates. And a quality candidate Hong was not. Her self-sabotaging past rhetoric aside, she was utterly bereft of star power. A gregarious campaigner with a friendly smile, she didn't let a single canvasser she met hit the road without a hug, thank you, and a selfie. But she lacked the diamond, I always have trouble with that word. We'll say charisma of Ocasio-Cortez, the conviction of Sanders, and the easy, polished charisma of Zohran Mamdani. Her stump speeches weren't stirring, her energy wasn't infectious, and her occasional curses, an apparent substitute for the vigor she lacked, landed flat. Let's blanking go, she told her admirers in Madison on Tuesday. It was hard to tell if she meant it. Hong spoke in the manner you might expect a robot playing a therapist might, weaving platitudes and non sequiturs together in whispers that some airhead recent grad told her exuded thoughtfulness, but actually betrayed her as a hollow space cadet. Her supporters reliably conveyed both some limited amount of affection for the candidate personally and unbridled enthusiasm for her agenda. They were enamored by her never-before-conceived idea of taxing the rich and continued commitment to putting ice on ice. They view her heavy-handed demand for data center moratoriums as imperative. One supporter fretted that they would otherwise be used by hungry billionaires to upload their brains to a computer. That was actually a quote. And her promise of delivering what she called permanent affordability landed well after a half-decade of runaway inflation. Her problem, though, was that her campaign spoke all of the quiet parts about her worldview out loud. Hong scored points with progressives over hostility to law enforcement, but she'd already demonstrated what that looked like in practice by voting against legislation targeting sexual predators in the state assembly. Moreover, the iconoclasm and rage central to her political identity were reminders of the 2020 riots that wrought untold death and destruction across the country, and particularly in minority and majority communities. Her events were littered with mostly white volunteers wearing T-shirts opposing school voucher programs. But black families from Milwaukee were none too pleased that Hong was coming for their children's education while crowing about equality. And while she professed to be laser focused on the ongoing affordability crisis, those voters without medium-term memory loss might have recalled that it was government spending of that kind she was championing that had spawned it. In the end, working-class voters grounded in reality rather than postmodern theory turned out in droves to save the democracy's flighty, overeducated class from themselves. Because while Ocasio-Cortez and Mamdani have proven adept makeup artists, they've still been applying lipstick to a pig that Hong lacked the talent to disguise. I thought that was an interesting piece about kind of the future, but I think it's a little too early to count them out. But Zachary Wolf of CNN says, what a safe bet candidate's loss means for the Democrats' odds in November. And that was Francesca Hogg was supposed to win. She actually had a 95% chance of victory up until primary day, according to the prediction site Kalshi. There are other prediction platforms, including Polymarket, that similarly favored Hong. She ended up losing by tight margins to David Crowley. So what happened in Wisconsin? What does this mean? Why was the crowd so wrong? Well, polling quality matters, they're saying. There are a lot of polls out there that may point in different directions, a lot of them conducted by groups with a partisan agenda. On the Kalshi prediction market, the odds of Democrats taking control of the House has been growing all summer and currently sits at more than 85%, which is a high degree of confidence, but also leaves a lot of room for Republicans. They actually have a better chance of holding the House majority than Crowley had of winning the Democrat primary for governor in Wisconsin. It's important to remember that these numbers, what they mean. People who are placing monetary bets think the safer bet is on Democrats winning. In the Senate, the odds of one party or the other winning control are about even. Those markets are an interesting tool, but they're only as good as the conventional wisdom. Yeah, I know we got to take a short break. More on the Democrat Socialists of America when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Give kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
What better start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub. Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Hi, I'm attorney Anna Zarpels from WYDC Injury Law. I'm not particularly athletic, but I am a big fan of sports and I'm hyper-competitive. I want to win at everything I do, and that includes getting my clients the best personal injury settlement possible. I'm a much better injury attorney than I am a hockey player, and there's no fee unless we win your case. Call 607-500-HURT for a free consultation.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Our Thursday features a mix of clouds and sun, a west wind, and a temperature right around average with a high of 82, ranging from 77 toward 83 across the region. Then we'll find ourselves with overnight lows in the upper 50s and low 60s, partly cloudy conditions. 81 on Friday. We'll see some nice sunshine going through Saturday, maintaining that. Then some additional rain comes our way.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street. And Courtney, we got a lot of comments coming in. Let's look at them now. Mark says, I see ICE is hitting the news big time over buying electric shock gloves. The Democrats are saying it's brutal, but I think it's needed. I wouldn't want to deal with illegals that don't comply. Yeah, the shock gloves, a lot of money, that contract. But yeah, the media is focusing on that laser, like you're right. It's been, I'm sure, it depends on where you go for news, but every news outlet that I go to, which is quite a few, for show prep, have made sure to highlight it and try to highlight that it's brutal. Humane devices that deliver jolt of pain will be used by ICE agents. And they put humane in quotes. The device is called Generated Low Output Voltage Emitter, or GLOVE, have been used in recent years by some jails and police departments in the U.S. ICE plans to spend up to $20 million to purchase thousands of them, according to the Associated Press. All right, enough on that. Comment from a different viewer. Ken writes in, Bernie Sanders reportedly has 3 multi-million-dollar homes. Since he believes in all the Mamdani's socialist policies, shouldn't he set an example and volunteer to send 5% plus of the value of each home into the city government where the homes are located? I think that would, yeah, I think that's a good point. Put your money where your mouth is, as they say, right? Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning to you. Speaking of a threat to democracy, I think the SAVE Act is paramount in restoring election integrity, and nothing that I know of has been done. It'll be September before you can blink. This isn't the first time that Republicans have had control of the House and Senate. It's Republicans who are holding this up, and it's something that's really crucial, in my opinion. And we talk a good game, but our party is letting us down again. And then, a little bit later, they continued, I tuned in 20 minutes late this morning. That's okay. I think you may have discussed Carolyn Levitt leaving. I'm glad that she wants to spend time with her family, but that's always the reason they give, and rarely is it the truth. Was she forced out? She did an amazing job, in my opinion. I hope Judge Janine isn't next. I've got to believe this is really for her family. I know what you're saying. I just think that Carolyn Levitt did an amazing job, and even Trump's glowing praise of her. And I'm with you. I hope Judge Janine isn't next. I don't think it's an excuse this time. Or it's just that she was burnt out and she uses as a family as an excuse, because I could see why she'd be burnt out. She was remarkable at her job, and that's not an easy job. So I don't think this was one where Trump fired her. I know that's how the media in some instances are trying to portray it. I saw on Drudge that she's ousted. I don't think she was ousted. I think she just wants to spend time with her family, and she, if anybody deserves it, it's Carolyn Levitt, because she did a great job. All right, back to the socialism. Chris Matthews, remember that name? He was on MS Now's Morning Joe. He said the DSA has done a favor to non-DSA Democrats, to regular Democrats who are regular members of the party. They've listed what they believe in. Their chair made that clear. All you have to do is go out there and say, thank you, DSA, for telling us what you believe in. I don't believe in that stuff. Yeah, I mean, they have not hidden, and that's what I think is so remarkable about it. They have not hidden their radical beliefs. I mean, I know Francesca Hong tried to walk back some of those, but when you're talking about like the actual chairs of the DSA, they've come right out and said they want to get rid of the Senate. They want to stack the Supreme Court. They want to abolish prisons, etc. So Chris Matthews continued saying, you've got to say, no, I'm not a member of the DSA, and here's why, and make it very clear. So it's going to require politicians to be good politicians and say, here's where I stand. I'm a regular Democrat. I'm for labor unions. I'm for opportunity for everybody. I'm for civil rights. I'm for all the things that I believe in as a Democrat. But I'm not with this crowd. And I think that's going to be a line that has to be drawn by Democrats, because I'm telling you, the last 6 weeks of this election is going to be an attack on al-Assad and the DSA in New York and Mamdani. It's all to come out and blame every Democrat for everything the DSA is doing. I don't believe the DSA's plan. I don't believe in their checklist of what they believe in. I'll say so, but running for office is going to require that, and I think before the election. I don't think, to Chris Matthews' point, I don't think, though, that the Democrats have, many Democrats have that backbone to do that. They're scared of the far left. Governor Cuomo's now talking about the far left in these interviews, but remember, he caved to the far left when he was governor, and that's why we have bail reform, that's why we have the green policies. Hochul caved and endorsed Mamdani right out of the gate. They're terrified of the far left. So the politician that comes out and says, I don't believe in this, I just don't think they're there. Because they're scared. And let's face it, there's been a lot of establishment Democrats who have lost their races to DSA members because, well, DSA members out-campaigned them, but at the end of the day, those messages are sent to other Democrats saying, okay, we'll coddle them, we'll treat them better than we should, and they'll leave us alone, but they don't. The DSA can't even leave themselves alone. They're attacking each other for not being Democrat socialists enough. So I think that's wishful thinking on Chris Matthews' part. But now the talking point is, well, Republicans are changing the terms. Republicans are calling us that. They're calling that themselves. We just had that quote earlier. Mark Pocan, a Democrat representative, said, I think the Republicans have loved to use Democrat socialist over and over, and now they're calling us communists. Like, they've lost any credibility. They clearly haven't taken a high school or even a junior high civics class recently because they don't understand the definitions of what they're calling us. What people do know is they're paying more out of pocket for goods because of actions of Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress. So you don't even know what a socialist is. You don't know what the definition is. Again, that is to assume they don't call themselves Democrat Socialists of America. And I know they always try to suggest communism is different when we say it isn't. They can say that. They can repeat the lie over and over again, but that's where it's ultimately headed. But we have to tie that in because they are pushing, the media specifically, but they're pushing AOC, who is a Democrat Socialist of America, pushing her for president. I know they're bringing up, and there's a whole New York Times piece, another 10-page piece, a write-up about AOC because she's sharing of her decision to freeze her eggs. The news that her longtime relationship has ended and a talk of a presidential run have intensified the debates that swirl around her. Now, she is, as far as I know, listen to this. They're painting her the victim. Her body, her weight, the clothes she wore in a magazine shoot, her lipstick, her endorsements, her ill-fated decision to attend the Met Gala in a tax-the-rich gown have been parsed and picked apart in ways she has described as sometimes dehumanizing, even when that parsing was coming from her supporters. One area where she was insulated from such scrutiny was her love life. Miss Ocasio-Cortez arrived on the national political scene with her boyfriend from college, Riley Roberts, by her side. And he stayed there as she became one of the most consequential women in American politics, a burly redhead who stood mostly outside the fame. In 2022, her team announced in a fundraising email that the couple were engaged. 4 years later, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez is at a new juncture. Her relationship with Mr. Roberts quietly ended some time ago, and her decision to live stream her egg freezing journey has forced to the forefront an uncomfortable topic for a lawmaker who's both unusually open and incredibly private, a breakup that she had never broadcast, despite giving her followers a sense that they are often along with her for the ride. The new information about her private life is coming alongside a spate of speculation she's preparing to run for president. She says she hasn't ruled out a presidential run or a run for Senate. She could now be navigating a possible national or statewide campaign as a young, world-famous single woman, a profile that would only intensify the ideological and cultural debates that swirl around her. Man. Anyway, so the only reason I bring that up is just think of that piece, that little bit that I just read compared to the piece I brought to you about J.D. Vance. I meant Usha Vance, but J.D. Vance's wife, Usha Vance. They want her in there so bad. I don't know. I asked this question of Joe Sempolinski. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because Ted Cruz believes what's going to happen is AOC runs for president and that Zohran Mamdani runs for Chuck Schumer's seat, either in a primary against Chuck Schumer or if Chuck Schumer resigns. I tend to think that's probably the case, but boy, AOC is missing an opportunity to be a senator unless, because probably if she wins she wins senator, she's there for a long, long time. If she runs for president and loses, that's a struggle for her future. So your thoughts on that, but the glowing pieces, and I have had to read this week, and I was hesitant to bring up that piece, but it's such a glowing review from the New York Times. How many times is the speculation of, did she break up with her fiance, this and that? It almost sounded like going back to the story we brought up earlier. Taylor Swift, my goodness, they are fawning all over her. But earlier in the week, we talked about her because she said woke one was crazy, meaning that the original woke, kind of what Francisca Hong was pushing, the end of Thanksgiving, are always looking to be more offended, more aggrieved than anybody else. That woke is gone. Don't worry. No, that was just us having a little fun at first. We've calmed down. No, they have the same beliefs. They just word it different. So progressives are now mad that she said is woke a joke, essentially. We're going to tell you about that when we return. A couple other things about Democrat Socialists of America. We do have some New York State updates, so stay with us. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back after this.
Mark your calendars. The future of agriculture takes center stage at the Youth Livestock Sale, Saturday, August 22nd at the Steuben County Fair. Come support hardworking Junior Ag Society, FFA youth, and independent youths from throughout Steuben County as they auction off the animals they've raised with pride and dedication. Cattle, pigs, goats, chickens, and more. All proceeds of the sale going directly to the youth. Join us Saturday, August 22nd at the Steuben County Fairgrounds. Support the youth, build the future.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread misalignment. Highest hospitalization. Evacuation in the West.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
Fire responding to a fire alarm on a Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget. Free local pantry here in her front lawn and painted posts.
The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Senator Tom Cotton has a piece out at Fox News about this Democrat Socialists of America. And I just thought we probably won't have a chance to bring it to you, but it's Democrats say socialism will help. History says it will hurt. History shows price controls, central planning, and government spending produce shortages and inflation, not affordability. So if you have a chance, you want to check that out, by all means. Okay, as I said, prominent progressives have a new humorous shorthand as they distance themselves from unpopular left-wing policies. Woke one was crazy. That's what, and what AOC means is woke one, the first iteration of woke. But what woke are we on? And really, how much different are your views? AOC's comments sparked a debate as progressives face key elections across the country. Some viewed the Congress member, who is viewed as a potential presidential candidate, as shrewdly dismissing a Republican talking point. But others saw the lighthearted line as disingenuous and a betrayal of a movement pushing for racial and economic justice. And there's another prime example of the DSA turning on the DSA. They always have to be the most offended. They have to be the most aggrieved. They have to be the biggest victim. And so even saying woke number one, which arguably might have cost Francisca Hong her campaign because she said things like abolishing Thanksgiving, might have cost her. They're saying, how dare you throw away our beliefs on social and injustice and racial injustice and economic injustice. The chatter began when AOC was asked about Francisca Hong. I have local city council members who say woke number one was crazy, said AOC. The doors were all really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. Of course, rhetoric in that time is not the rhetoric that we would use today. The meaning of the term woke complicated the discussion further. Public advocate Jumanji Williams said that for him, woke encompasses policies covering racial justice, fairer policing, and investment in healthcare and housing. He said he had never used a term to fund the police, but maintained that activists were fighting to redirect funding or police spending, to communities as an alternative means of ensuring public safety. The problem is we've let people define it as something else, and that's what's harmful. So this is the new talking point, I would say relatively new, unless you've been witnessing it. Everything that's bad about Democrats, it's Republicans controlling the narrative. I don't know how they're controlling it. I don't know what media outlet's giving them that control. But what they're saying is, oh, we're not socialists. I know our name is Democrat Socialists of America, but no. And you don't call us communists. Oh, and woke's a good thing. Don't let the media, don't let the Republicans and the media control your message. I mean, is that what we're to believe? Some of the left bemoan the use of the term woke, saying it has been used to oversimplify progressive ideas. The word has served as an umbrella term for ideas ranging from defund the police to diversity initiatives. Woke one refers to the early in the pandemic when the police killing of George Floyd in May of 2020 inspired Black Lives Matter demonstrators around the world. Asked about AOC's comments, Zohran Mamdani argued that while candidates should be held accountable for their past statements, they should also be allowed to evolve. As a candidate, Mamdani backed away from defunding the police. This is by Elizabeth Kim, by the way. So it's okay to say crazy, outlandish things because we evolve. So to say defund the police, you can evolve from that? Where do you evolve from? Or to, I should say. Sometimes what you believe can change, it can develop, it can grow, Mamdani said. And I know that there are some of whom they still believe in that. I've made very clear that I do not believe in defunding the police. Mamdani's remarks are reminiscent of his progressive ally, Brad Lander, who during the campaign called defunding the police a failed political strategy. 2 progressive city council members criticized AOC, so again, the DSA turning on the DSA, and the DSA and establishment Democrats are turning on each other, and yet the media still refuses to report on the Democrat Civil War. Really interesting. You won't find me repudiating the moral and effective policies that will keep us safer just because political popularity winds shift back and forth, said Councilmember Tiffany Cabin, a Democrat socialist. Councilmember Sandy Nurse also defended the protest movement, saying, I support good messaging that resonates widely and have advocated for this, but it's a mistake to flatten the uprising to hysteria. Christina Greer, a political science professor at Fordham University, said there are risks for politicians who disavow ideas perceived as central to their identities. You just look like every other politician that flip-flops back and forth. But if that's how she fundamentally believes about that time period and the beginning of that movement, then I think that says who she is trying to be for a much larger, broader audience who may agree with her that it was just a woke blip in time. So they're turning on the fact that AOC, she's got a tightrope if she runs for president or Senate, because she has been accused. We've had story after story where the far left, the Democrat Socialists of America, don't believe she is woke enough, that she's not Democrat Socialist enough. AOC, So we see where this party is headed. Again, the media does not want to talk about the infighting in the Democrat Party, the establishment caving very often to the DSA turning on the DSA. It's just fascinating to watch. I will say what's the most troubling, of course, is the anti-Semitism that's reared its ugly head, that has become such an important part of that movement. As it was reported, Representative Rashida Tlaib from the Squad, she's being criticized by Florida's lone Jewish Republican in Congress as she works to unseat 2 fellow House Democrats. Tlaib is appearing at a rally in Fort Lauderdale held by left-wing groups in support of 3 congressional candidates, according to a flyer, including 2 socialists running to unseat Representative Jared Markowitz, a Democrat from Florida, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Democrat from Florida. Representative Randy Fine said, "I think that it's no coincidence that Rashida Tlaib is coming to target two of the remaining Jewish Democrats. It won't be well received in Florida. How it's received in the Democrat Party. Look, the Democrats are lost, but I'm going to hope that Florida Democrats are smarter than national Democrats, because the Jew hatred side of the Democrat Party is not good for America." Tlaib has been a power player in the DSA, but DSA-linked candidates have also been accused of criticism against Israel that approaches anti-Semitism. It hasn't approached. They've been very clear with their anti-Semitism. Tlaib, the first Palestinian-American woman in Congress, has faced bipartisan criticism for comments on Israel and Jewish people. The Michigan congresswoman has denied accusation of anti-Semitism. But Fine said Tlaib was a vocal supporter of Hamas and said the far left was making Jews in America feel unsafe, saying, quote, "I think the Democrat Party is lost, and I think it's dangerous. I don't know that it's lost and dangerous in Fort Lauderdale and Florida, but nationally, the kinds of people that the Democrats are nominating, these are people who do not love America. They hate it. They are here to destroy it, and no one embodies that better than Rashida Tlaib." But yeah, it is no coincidence that she's campaigning against Jewish House Democrats. Think of that. Tlaib campaigned with al-Assad and other DSA candidates across the U.S. Friday's rally is called Chomp the Oligarchy, and is being hosted by progressive groups like Gen Z for Change and Florida Youth Justice Coalition. Markowitz and Wasserman Schultz's campaign did not respond to requests for comments on Tlaib's appearance. Tlaib's campaign did not respond to a request. Yeah, it just happened to be campaigning against 2 Jewish Democrats. What's the chances? All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit here about New York State, if you don't mind. So keep your waves, keep your comments coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.,
Darren L.,
Cole W.,
Preston L., absent.
absent,
absent,
because healthcare,
anti-bullying,
mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Our Thursday features a mix of clouds and sun, a west wind, and a temperature right around average with a high of 82, ranging from 77 toward 83 across the region. Then we'll find ourselves with overnight lows in the upper 50s and low 60s, partly cloudy conditions. 81 on Friday. We'll see some nice sunshine going through Saturday, maintaining that. Then some additional rain comes our way Sunday.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Some comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Have a great day. Well, thank you. Good morning. You have a great day as well. That's very kind of you. Hello, Frank. AOC running for president is a joke. She doesn't have enough experience. She should focus on Schumer's Senate seat. Well, a couple things. So the media can always prop up somebody even if they don't have experience. I mean, Barack Obama was only 2 years into his Senate term when he became president. When he ran for president. Then he became president. So I don't think we can take it as a joke. I know what you're saying. I don't want to fall into the trap. I had this conversation with Joe Sempolinski on the Pulse when I filled in for Mayor Buckley the other day. If we laugh at them, do they become almost their far left points almost become downplayed? So I understand what you're saying. I would argue, though, that we don't take her lightly because the media will be in her back pocket. She's surrounded by yes people. So those yes people will tell her, yes, you can run for president. Yes, you can run for president. You're going to be great. I would say from a pure political standpoint, I'm with you. I think it would be smarter for her to run for Senate. But we can't take this idea of her running for president lightly. All right, Rick writes in, says, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. Climate change ranks only at 3% for midterm election concerns. People basically don't care about climate change. Just forget about record temps, floods, wildfire, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricane, and Trump. So who are you mad at in that case? Why does Trump... What happened here? I didn't think yet. That never happened. They never happened? Okay. Why does Trump lie and say the U.S. has total control of the strait? Iran does. They think you're weak, and why did he leave the press and many in his cabinet as decoys on old Air Force One? They didn't even know they were decoys because it's all about Don. Hey, let's spend $20 million on electric gloves for the low-life ice agents. Man, you are getting, is it the show, Rick, that's gotten your rhetoric more fired up than from the beginning? Low-lifes and ice. Okay. Give them something else to harass people with. All we can hope is they forget to turn their gloves off when they relieve themselves. Very classy, Rick. Bye-bye, Carolyn. Wonder who Don will put in there to lie for him now. She probably had to step aside to get a nose reduction. $900 million for Don's dance hall and sub shop. Makes you wonder, with all the yellow gold projects going on, that he has so much time to spend on losing a war, ruining the economy, and suing everyone this side of the Mississippi. Have a great day, Rick. All right, thanks, Rick. Comment from, let's see, I don't have the other ones queued up yet. We'll get those after the next break. All right, New York. Kathy Hochul received $55,000 in campaign contributions from social adult daycare centers in fraud-plagued Flushing's, Queens. Boy, this is starting to sound reminiscent of Minnesota. Almost half of those donations can be linked to two men, local power broker Bali Zhang and Jimin Shang, who own two of Flushing's biggest daycare businesses, both of which were empty of patients when visited by the New York Post last week. Zhang, 69, personally donated $10,000 as well as another $5,000 through his Bay King adult daycare. Financial disclosures show Zhang's various businesses have claimed at least $32 million from Medicaid. Yes, $32 million from Medicaid since 2018 on behalf of tens of thousands of patients. Shang runs Living Well Daycare, which donated $5,000 to Hochul in 2022. The same year, it billed $5.8 million to Medicaid. Another $5,000 came from Finest Adult Daycare, which Shang also runs. This all gets a little wonky, but in 2021, social adult daycare centers were dying due to COVID. Someone threw them a lifeline and must have said something like, take care of me and I'll take care of you. They're making more money than ever now, an industry source said. Federal figures back this up. Business has exploded at Living Well, which billed $114,000 in 2018, then increased to $8.5 million in 2024. Bao Kang went from claiming $1.5 million in 2018 to $7.22 million by 2024. Monthly revenue for daycare across Flushing's overall has nearly doubled compared to pre-pandemic numbers. Only 9 of the city's nearly 400 SADCs made contributions over $5,000 to Hochul's first gubernatorial campaign. This is where it starts to get a little wonky. I would highly recommend that you find this piece that's at the New York Post, and when you start to wonder about this fraud, and I know J.D. Vance and others are working hard on this to root out this fraud, the numbers are staggering, and they need, obviously, to be looked into. So, owner of suspiciously vacant adult daycare has billed Medicaid $32 million while donating to Kathy Hochul and others. Yeah, and it goes through their whole history. That's why I don't want to get too much more into it. This is probably about 10 pages here with some photos and things like that. Huge red flags, but again, no real audit into our Medicaid system. But we got to take a short break. Whew, we're going fast. I see some comments coming in. A couple other things here about Hochul. We're going to talk about Blakeman. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here. Oh, quickly. Don't forget, tomorrow we're going to talk about India Day. India Day is coming up on Saturday right here in Corning at Centerway. We're going to learn all about that on tomorrow's program. So I just wanted to highlight that. We're also going to hear on Monday about the Steuben County Fair, the country's oldest county fair. We're going to learn about this year and see what is happening at the fair. We always look, Joe and I talk about it with the pig races, and we just have a blast there. I'm going to be attending the event. I look forward to it, as I always do at the fair. Okay, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I'm Grace. I'm Ida, and I lived in California. To me, was just a puppy when I moved in. He's a emotional support animal. I had Missy, who is 15 years old and blind. Likes the people, he likes to greet all the people. All the employees are happy to see him. I feel that my pets are very welcome here. I feel very welcome here. I think it's great.
Kids Time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Did you know we waste as much as 40% of all the food we produce globally? Did you also know that each year, millions of acres of wildlife habitat are plowed over, and billions of gallons of water is guzzled up to produce that food? And your wallet is taking a hit too. Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food per year. That's a lot of waste. But did you know that there are simple things you can do to help? And spread the word that food should never be trash. Visit us at wwf.earth/foodwaste.
The only thing more American than apple pie and 4th of July is baseball. This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Some comments from viewers. Ken says the left currently utilizes lawfare to punish and silence political opponents. Can you imagine how that practice would be ramped up in a socialist government? Absolutely. If this is how they operate already, yes, I totally agree, Ken. Comment from a different viewer. As far as Rick and global warming, if you look back in history, the same weather or events have happened before. Nothing is new, or as this old saying goes, nothing new under the sun, right? Comment from a different viewer. I have to ask a question of viewer Rick, if I may. I can ask. I can't guarantee he's going to respond. I'd like to know if you were being beaten and attacked and an ICE agent stepped in to offer assistance, would you accept it? Or are they too big of lowlifes, essentially? All right. Hochul shells out. Listen to this. $7 million of your money and my money, taxpayers' money, $7 million, to cover legal bills for 1,400 migrant children in New York. The $7.25 million in funding will cover an estimated 1,400 migrant kids facing removal proceedings, including about 250 in detention. The governor said at a press conference alongside Mayors Zohran Mamdani and Attorney General Letitia James. The announcement came after the Trump administration let its contract with a network of about 100 providers working with migrant kids nationwide lapse in July. It's cruel. It's illegal, and for nearly 2 decades, our federal government required by law that these children be protected when they cross the border. The trafficking victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008, passed during President Bush's tenure, required the U.S. government to provide legal representation for kids in deportation proceedings. Children caught crossing into the U.S. alone are generally entrusted to the federal government and placed in the care of an adult sponsor, typically a parent, relative, or family friend, by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Trump in May tightened regulations to block illegal immigrants from serving as sponsors after the ORR reportedly lost track of 320,000 children under Joe Biden's administration. Mom Donnie said New York refuses to stand idly by while the federal government abandons immigrant children and leaves them vulnerable to exploitation and deportation. Hochul's ramped up her campaign against ICE agents heading into her November re-election. The incumbent Democrat governor has gone so far as threatening counties to comply with Democrat-backed sanctuary laws and accuse federal immigration authorities of overreach. All right, we've been telling you how we believe, I believe anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts, that Governor Hochul is scared of Bruce Blakeman. And we can point to the fact that the Democrats tried to take away his matching funding. Again, I don't like the idea of matching funding, but that is the rule of the game. So Bruce Blakeman signed on to it, and they tried to take that away from him. Then you have these recent polls that show that he's tightening in this race, that it's in grasp, and now the Democrats are going after him for using AI, artificial intelligence, in his ads. If you've seen these ads, I'm not talking about the ones that perhaps you saw on TV or that's him sitting at the dining room table or whatever that is. I'm talking about the digital ads that are humorful. They're funny. They're supposed to. No one's watching them going, did Hochul really do that? And that was Bruce Blakeman's message to Democrats. Everybody knows it's AI and it's funny. So what's your problem? Get a life. That's after Jay Jacobs threatened to sue and try to take away his matching funds again for using AI. I don't know what the Democrats' problem is. They're trying to cheat, I guess because it's so effective, Blakeman said. Now, we reported yesterday that when he said that, they're trying to cheat, meaning taking away his matching funds, which I would say would be cheating under their rules. They're trying to suggest he's an election denier, trying to go that direction with it. Some of his recent ads include videos depicting an AI Hochul appearing to rob a bank, playing poker, and gambling taxpayer funds with Mom Donnie. And another, the AI Democrat, is offered crack from a dealer she calls a nice young man, while she gets a ringing endorsement from illegal migrants, lobbyists, and a drug dealer named White Boy Ray. And I think we talked about that when it came out. Jacobs, however, finds nothing about the ads funny and said Blakeman is distorting reality and misleading voters into believing Hochul said and did these things. Quote, the Blakeman campaign has been proud to convert taxpayer dollars into campaign funds and then use those public matching funds to support campaign activities that violate the election law. They're scared. The State Board of Elections cannot permit a campaign to repeatedly flout the election law, and it certainly cannot permit the campaign to pull down public matching funds in furtherance of this subversion. He then called Blakeman's stance very Trumpian. Contrary to his assertion, Democrats can take a joke, which is why we are so glad that he is the governor's opponent in this upcoming election. Bruce cannot run on his record and is desperate to distract from his abysmal policy position, which will raise costs or reduce services in our state. Wow, does that prove your point? We can take a joke. Blakeman's a joke. You're literally trying to take campaign. That's not funny, number one. You just proved Blakeman's point. Number two, you've been trying to take away his matching funds. Democrats started the matching funds because they said it was going to be the little guy that could take on the big bad incumbent. That's exactly what's happening here, but they don't like it because the little guy is a Republican, so they want to take his money away. It goes to show you why we were screaming from the rooftops that there should not be matching funds ever. And by the way, when we talk matching funds, that's your money. So that's your money going to all of this. Anyway, we got to take a short break. I know, I'm running late. We're just about to wrap things up. Get your last second comments in. We're going to be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Our Thursday features a mix of clouds and sun, a west wind, and a temperature right around average with a high of 82, ranging from 77 toward 83 across the region. Then we'll find ourselves with overnight lows in the upper 50s and low 60s, partly cloudy conditions. 81 on Friday. We'll see some nice sunshine going through Saturday, maintaining that. Then some additional rain comes our way Sunday.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio, wrapping up today's edition. Let's go to some viewer comments. Ken writes in, so Hochul just heard you say how much fraud her benefactors bilked out of the Fed and state governments. I bet you she's on the phone right now, chastising them for stealing millions of dollars and only sending her campaign $5,000. That was my thought. I'd be upset if I was Hochul as well. Good morning, Frank. Great show. Well, thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. Good morning. Jack says the Democrats are completely predictable with their hate and despicable win at all cost posture. The following you'll find very interesting, and it's AI, artificial intelligence response. A Republican counterpunch strategy. Stop being surprised by predictable attacks. Republicans should maintain a permanent tactics watch operation that identifies likely attacks before they happen. Republicans cutting Social Security, taking away health care, hate immigrants, destroying democracy, racist, sexist, extreme. Trump is a dictator. A carefully selected Republican statement gets amplified nationally. A Republican makes a mistake, Democrats and sympathetic media repeat it for days. Instead of reacting after the story explodes, Republicans should have an answer prepared before the attack is launched. 2, don't take the bait. This is probably the most important point. If a Democrat makes an outrageous accusation, the Republican response shouldn't be a 20-minute rant. It should be, that's the accusation, here's what actually happened. Then give 1 or 2 indisputable facts and move on. The objective is to make the Democrats' attack look predictable, manufactured, and boring. 3, force the Democrats to defend their own records. Republicans too often allow elections to become referendums on Republican personalities. Instead, forget me for a moment, tell voters what you would actually do. Then ask Democrats very specific questions. What is your immigration, tax policy, energy policy, crime policy, etc.? And don't accept slogans as answers. Got that all in. Thank you, Jack. I do appreciate that. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Well, I think we covered just about everything that we needed to. A couple of things we probably could have still talked about, but we're out of time, so it doesn't matter. Don't forget, on tomorrow's program, we're going to hear about India Day, which is coming up on Saturday right here in Centerway in Corning. Stika is going to join us again. This is a yearly tradition. This is definitely our 3rd year, but I think they had a couple other events that we had interviews with about. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. On Monday, we're going to talk about the Steuben County Fair. So we have a busy lineup in store. As always, if you miss any of the interviews, you can find them on our website, WYDCTV.com, or on our YouTube page. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the waves. We'll be back tomorrow morning with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'll see you at 6 a.m. Look forward to it already.
When it comes to home improvement, Horseheads Do-It Center has you covered. Family-owned, locally trusted, and packed with everything you need for any project. From top-quality tools to kitchen and bath essentials, we make it easy. Competitive prices, expert advice, friendly service. Visit us at 124 North Main Street or online at doitbest.com/horseheads today.
Oh man, where is he?
Our client deserves big money.
Oh, you can try to downplay it or shift the blame, but to not offer top dollar is just nuts. Pardon the pun.
Looks like another working vacation.
Oh, good morning, Peter.
Hey.
Hurt in a car? Only call William the Tar. 444-4444.